Hi everyone, welcome back to the Diary of a Single Mom. My name is Marin Sheikh Hussein. Thank you all my lovely subscribers. You've decided to continue watching my videos. I don't think my channel would be growing as much if it wasn't for you guys. I'm so appreciative. I basically said on my first video, not on my first video, on one of the videos that I made, I said that I was going to do two, following on towards my severe depression story. I decided to give a pause to that. I don't want to upload it now because I just feel like a lot of the videos I've been talking about like my struggle, and I'm still going to talk about my struggle in this topic. However, I just feel like when it comes to the depression, it just reminds me of the darkest times in my life. And because I've been talking about everything that happened in Somalia and stuff like that, it's kind of brought me back to the past. I'm just gonna lay that to rest for a little bit, and inshallah, I'm gonna upload at some point going in depth about the depression, the medication I took, the therapist that I met, sorry. Um yeah, and all of that. This topic today is going to be about when I was homeless. Alhamdulillah, I had my grandma, thankfully, because if I didn't have my grandma when I came back to the UK, I would have been on the streets, and I don't even think I would have been able to come back to the UK. I was at my AA's house, and she had a one-bedroom flat, so but she divided both of them into rooms. And two of my brothers were also living there, so I had to like squeeze in. Oh my gosh, during that time, it was such a struggle because when I first came back to the UK, Brexit was happening. That meant that because I had the EU passport and because I've been gone from England for about 5 years, that I had to like wait for something called a habitual residency. So I was basically in the position of someone who's like an asylum seeker. I'm not even kidding you. I remember when I came back, I was pregnant with my third child, Safa, and that's when I escaped from Sweden and came here. It was really, really difficult. I remember how small the flat was, and I was pregnant. I had to be put on something called no recourse to public funds. If you check that up online, basically what it means is that I'm not eligible for any sort of support from the government at all. Whew. Me sharing this story is like a big deal because still when I talk about it, I feel so ashamed to go in depth because I really went through such a difficult time, and I still feel guilty because my children had to go through it with me. So I feel quite ashamed and guilty speaking about this, but I feel like it could definitely help someone. The choices that I made in my life that led me up to that point where I was homeless, I literally became like the bottom barrel of society. You know, society, people treat you based on what they think you are and what category you fit in. I'm black, I'm Muslim, I'm a single mom. Divorce and everything didn't fully go ahead, but I had the intention of doing it. But I'm black, I'm a single mom, I'm young, 24 with 3 kids. So imagine how that looked like to a lot of people. You know, like I was heavily judged during that time, and I looked younger than my age as well. I didn't look like I was 24. I looked like I was probably 20. I looked like I was about, yeah, maybe younger than 20 even. Well, I looked like I was 19 or something. Yeah, so I was pregnant with my third child. I was living at my AA's house, considered homeless. Otherwise, I wouldn't have anywhere else to go. And I don't think I would have even been able to come to the UK, come back to the UK. But thankfully, the reason why I was coming was because of family. There's family there, there's people there. My best friend Sagal is here. I've been friends with her since I was 8, and she's one of the joys of my life. Like, she makes me happy. She's just such an amazing like sister to me. My kids love her as well. So she's family. Like, we've been best friends like for such a long time. We've had our ups and downs, but she's like my main source of comfort. That's the reason why I came here. And I remember the first thing that happened to me when I came here was I booked myself into the GP, so that I could get like a midwife and prepare for birth. And my intention was to get a divorce. I was staying at my grandma's bedroom. We were sleeping there, and my brothers were in the next room. They were so helpful, alhamdulillah, always helpful, playing with my kids, making them happy. And I was doing the best that I could at the time. One thing that the struggle has never stopped me from being an amazing mom to my kids. I've always showed them love. I've always showed them care. Never once have I ever looked at my children and been like, oh, they're the source of my problem. Because sometimes a lot of single moms take their frustration out on their children and they traumatize their children further. It's got nothing to do with the kids. Children are actually a gift for you. And you kind of like, it's your responsibility mostly it's like the responsibility falls on the mother anyway. I don't think this is fully fair, but at the end of the day, I take it because it's like I'm grateful to have been the source for my children. If they weren't living with me, subhanallah, like I can't even imagine it. I'm just grateful for that. But I remember when I first came back, I went to the housing so that I could get government help, like government housing help. I remember them saying to me, because I told them, like I've got depression, and I'm on medication. I came out of an abusive relationship, because they were like, why did you move from Sweden? Why did you move from Sweden? Sweden's a good place. And I said, I had no one there. I was isolated. My husband became physically abusive to me. He hurt me. And this time I was pregnant with Safa, actually, when he put his hands on me. I remember him pinning me to the bed and just slapping me and saying to me, oh, this is not Marian, it's a jinn. This is not Marian, it's a jinn. He used to gaslight me a lot and make me feel like I was crazy. That time I did feel like I had jinn problems, spiritual like possession. But I think it was definitely a spiritual issue. But what exacerbated it and made it happen was the stuff that I was going through, the abuse that I was going through, the names he was calling me, the fact that he was controlling me and all of this. So I told them all of this, and they made a conclusion that no, we're not going to place you somewhere. They said, you made yourself intentionally homeless and you're showing no signs of mental health problems. So I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, I remember in the letter it said, like, she's well articulate, she's well spoken, she's well put together, she's nice, she's clean. She doesn't show any signs of mental health problems. I was just thinking, like, what the hell? Like, how does that show you any indication of if someone is actually in need of help or not? I feel like in society, it's like you have to fall into a criteria where you're not showering, you're not taking care of yourself, you look rafad, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, like, or you're on drugs or something, for them to be like, okay, she needs help. But my residency failed in the UK as well, because Brexit was happening. And I remember getting a letter from the NHS saying that I might need to pay for my birth. And my heart was just racing fast. I had savings, the savings were dying away. And I remember my sister helping me financially. My older sister Ayan, I'm so grateful for her, because she's always been there for me whenever like I needed her. Basically, she made the choice to show up for me every time, and I'm so grateful. My sister's really religious, alhamdulillah, like she wears niqab, but never once has she ever made me feel like I am not good enough because I'm not wearing scarf, or I'm not practicing enough, or this and this. She just continuously reminds me of Allah. This time when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was actually wearing the hijab. I can't lie to you, after all the experiences that I've been through, especially with my Quran Sar, which I'm going to tell you guys in another video. Like I said, I don't want to talk about my depression video now, because I just feel like that time was such a difficult place in my life. And if I talk about it, I'm just going to feel so bad the next day. And this doesn't mean that I'm not going to feel bad about this situation. I think I am. But I think it's important to share all my struggles, no matter how ashamed and vulnerable I feel now, because I can't lie to you, me talking about the struggle that I went through with nothing, like nothing, going through, I was going through, it could open up a place for judgment. And it's a really like difficult thing to share, but I'm sharing it because I know that there might be a woman in a similar situation as me who doesn't have anything. And I'm just going to show you that, trust me, there's a way out. There's always a way out. You can heal, you can grant success for you and your children, you can do so many things, but you're just going to have to learn along the way. So I didn't get my residency. I wasn't allowed for government help, nothing. I was relying on my sister, and I was at my AA's house. At this time, the divorce wasn't finalized, because my ex-husband was like, no, I'm not going to divorce you. I'm not going to divorce you. It's my power. It's my power to not divorce you, and all of this. I was heavily pregnant. So I remember just thinking to myself, okay, I'm 7 months going on 8 months now, like 7.5 months, and my stomach was getting really big. I was just thinking to myself, okay, if this failed, and if there's no source of income for me, and my savings are dying down, and I'm in this situation, what am I going to do? I really had to assess my choices. I really had to face myself, face the shame that I felt about being in this position, getting married so young, making those choices. The fact that I'm a single mom with 3 children, at the age of 24, I had to look at that and be like, is this how I want to continue my life? Is this how I want to live my life for the rest of my life? No, I want better for myself. I want better for myself. This doesn't mean that I regret my children. Absolutely not. They are the reason why I kept getting up every day. They're the reason why I kept pushing every day. They're the reason why I was literally alive. Like, I'm going to be honest, because there were times where, subhanAllah, I don't want to I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna have to say it. But there was a time where I didn't want to continue living anymore because my kids were there. They were my source and my reason to keep going. Alhamdulillah, you know, like I did like pray a lot. I can't sit here and say that I didn't feel resentful about the religion. I did at some point, because when I was in the marriage, you know, I was constantly told I'm going to go to hell. I have to submit to him. I have to listen to him. I'm going to go to hell. Funnily enough, it's so interesting because despite all the amazing comments and supportive comments that I get from so many sisters here, it's so interesting to me that I see a few sisters, you know, writing comments. Like a few of them, I deleted it. But there was this one sister that said to me, oh, this is not abuse. Like nobody's telling her the truth. And I had to actually, I left that comment there specifically because she's an example, but I had to literally write to her and just be like, what are you talking about? Said she was a mental health professional. And I just said, I hope she's not, subhanAllah, because you shouldn't be giving that information out there. There's like, oh, this is not abuse or something like that, or you made your own choices. Yes, I did. I was 18 at the time and I did make my choices. However, domestic abuse is not something I was expecting, you know, and it's not something anybody deserves. The reason why I share my story is because I know I'm gonna attract people like that. I know people are going to come onto my comments and I know people are going to judge me and look at me. But the reason why I make this content, no matter how scary it is for me to share all my struggles and putting it out there, is there's a specific reason why. Alhamdulillah, I'm out of it now. And I know that there are so many women, and it's increasing. There are many women in my position. And instead of that, because they're so depressed and they're so sad, they're turning to drugs or they're turning to addictions, you know, to numb their pain. Like there's a lot going on. And I feel like I can share my story about my homelessness, about the domestic violence I went through, about the poor choices that I made at my young age, and how it led me to where it led me to, and why, you know, how you can also get out of it if you're in this situation. There's always a chance for you to change. There's always hope for you. Trust me, there's always hope for you. Just keep your prayer up, keep your faith up, and just go through it. If you're going through depression, depression happens. Go through it. Go through it. So I decided at like 8 months that I was going to go and work as a cleaner. Oh my God, like I feel quite ashamed to say this because I always wanted better for myself and I saw myself as, oh, like working in a better job and stuff like that. But I was adamant and I had the goal that I needed to get things sorted for my baby. So I remember I started cleaning houses, right? And it's so interesting because when you're in that position, you're working a job that, you know, you're just like feeling a bit ashamed of. You start to see how you get treated by others. I was literally working as a cleaner. I was pregnant. And then I remember after a few days of working as a cleaner, my stomach started really hurting and I felt like something was going to come out of me. So I just said, no, I'm not going to continue working now. Otherwise, something could happen to the baby. I sat down and I stopped. I was so sad about that. You know, I was just constantly looking at ways to get out of this situation. Because of my residency failing, because Brexit was happening, I got a I got a letter that said basically that I'm not eligible for status or something like that. I don't even know what happened, guys, but something happened that meant I couldn't apply for my daughter to go to school. I was devastated. Alhamdulillah, I found a way around it because I could go to a solicitor and I got this letter and alhamdulillah, I got her into school. After that, I was like, okay, cool. Sahara, she's in school now. My little one, she's in nursery. Safa's born at this time already, right? I was like, what should I do now? So I was like, okay, I have to save money so I can get out of AA's house. My grandma went to Somalia this time. I have to get out of AA's house and I have to go to work. I got a care job and I started doing night shift because I had to take my kids to school early in the morning. Sometimes my brothers would take them to school, but I had to also take them to school in the morning. So I would work night shift, guys, night shift, literally like 4 days a week, 3 days a week. Come home, not having slept, and just early in the morning, like 7, prepare my kids, their food, everything, like give them breakfast, everything. And I remember feeling so guilty that I would just bring them toys every morning, like little toys that I would get from the shop. And my older daughter still remembers it. She's like, Mommy, remember you used to get us toys and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. But I just felt so guilty having to go out to work because my 2 daughters were so used to having me always there, like taking them to nursery in Sweden, going to school, and then coming back to pick them up, you know. So they always had me. I remember my daughter, basically one night I went to work at a night shift and she said she would wake up in the morning a few times and she would be like, Mommy, Mommy. and she would go to the toilet. She would think I'm in the toilet, and then she would start crying. And I remember when I would come back from work, like her eyes would be a bit red, and I would be like, "Hey, Hoya, how are you doing? Hoya, how are you?" Give them a kiss and stuff. And then, my brothers would take care of them, and she would just be like, I thought, you left, you went, you left, mommy, you left. And I'll just be like, I know, Hoy, I have to go to work. She couldn't understand why I was working night shift. It was just such a difficult time. It was such a difficult time. But I'm so grateful for the support. Like my daughters, they love my brothers so much because they would play with them, they would buy them stuff, they would literally just be the best uncles ever. And alhamdulillah for that. Wallahi, alhamdulillah for that. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah for that. Because the situation that we was in, it was very, very, very difficult. I forgot to mention one thing. Before I had Safa, let me go back to before I gave birth to Safa. When I stopped working and I was pregnant, I actually went to go and ask for help, and they referred me to the early help team. So the early help team are a part of the social services. People think social services, they think, oh, no, 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 no. The early help team was so helpful for me because they actually referred me to this charity that gives brand new clothes to babies. Like, I feel so ashamed even saying that I got my baby's clothes from charity, but I had to. I went and I got my baby's first clothes. I remember just feeling so grateful because we didn't have anything. Just before I gave birth to Safa, my sister came with me. We went to the hospital. And my auntie came, which I wish she didn't come because my auntie was there fainting, like, Allah, Allah, I was like, yeah, get her out of the room, get her out of the room. She couldn't handle it. And I remember like the nurses dabbing water on her head. And I was like, today's not her day, get her out of the room. I was like, Allah, like that. She was like, Habarir, stop screaming. I was like, if you don't get this lady out of this room, like, I'm going to kill you. But I remember just like giving birth, pushing the baby out. Of course, it was like death, painful. Alhamdulillah, once she came out, I was so grateful. I just looked at her and I was just thinking, something needs to change. At that time, I was so hard on myself, and I can understand because I was going through the whole process of being angry at myself, of being angry at my situation, being angry at how I ended up here. I let my kids also be in this position. And that's a part of the healing process. You have to heal from it. You have to look at yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable. Even if some people will look at something and be like, yeah, but it's not poor choices, da, da, da. It is, because if you want to do better in life, you have to look back at things and be like, okay, what could I have done better? What did I do? You have to look back at the red flags. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then heal yourself after that. If I didn't heal from it, God forbid, imagine if I got married again. What would happen to me? Alhamdulillah, I didn't. But I had to be alone. It's been 8 years now, and I can't lie to you, I'm so happy to be single because I get to just focus on my kids. I get to just focus on finishing my degree. I just get to focus on what we have right now. Be grateful for everything that we have right now. And now I know that I am capable of getting myself out of tough situations. And I use the same blueprint that I learned from that difficult situation. And now I'm using it towards other things, such as creating content, such as giving back, such as my university, such as, improving in my parenting. I'm using the same formula that I used with that on this now. You need to heal from it. Healing is not easy. Night shifts, going back to night shifts. I would take my kids to school. I wouldn't sleep. I'd come back. I would take my other one to nursery, and I'd come back home with my baby. I would pick her up from nursery because it was just 3 hours a day. And then I would cook, and I would pick my daughter up from school, and then we'd go to bed together. So I wouldn't go to work the next day. The next day after that, I would go to work. I lost a lot of sleep. Every single penny that I made, aside from the food shopping, aside from their little toys, aside from getting them treats here and there, because I was living at my grandmother's, she didn't expect me to pay rent, alhamdulillah. I saved every single penny so I can get myself a deposit for a place, because the housing, remember, they said no to me. I saved thousands of pounds within like a year after I moved. When I was at my lowest position, saying to everyone, like family members and stuff like that, like, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to one day become financially free. One day I'm going to create content. One day I'm going to get my degree. One day and people used to laugh at me, guys. People used to laugh at me. They probably looked at me and was like, rah, like she's done, like her life is done, like she's finished, like, But alhamdulillah, it got to me. Of course it got to me and it hurt. but it's because I wanted better for myself. I was speaking to a psychotherapist and she said, the reason why you got hurt by those comments of people saying, oh, looking at down at you and all of this is because you wanted better for yourself. Like, so just see it as that. Whenever people are pointing fingers at you and all of this, yeah, if it hurts you, ask yourself, why does it hurt me? What do I want out of life? Do I want to be here for the rest of my life? You know, a lot of people say your haters are actually, wallahi, the best motivators for your life. The people that tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, they're the best motivators for your life. The haters that write little mean comments and all of this, looking at your videos, they're the ones that are secretly admiring you because they're looking at you. Why are you looking at? Why are you watching me? Why are you watching me for? So, alhamdulillah, anyway, we got a place, which we're still here now. After that, I started again going to therapy. I kept going to therapy, guys. Like literally, I kept on going to therapy. I was still doing my night shifts. My sister would come and take care of the kids here. I would go night shifts and I'd bang out work, guys. And I'd come back in the morning and I'll take my kids to school. And it was hard because there were moments where my youngest one started nursery and she was doing 15 hours a week. Was it 30 hours a week? Yeah. I couldn't work. I had to stay at home. It was hard because we didn't have much money. Oh my gosh, guys, the most hardships that we went through, even in this house, we struggled. It was just so difficult. And I would cry a lot. And I would say, when am I going to be able to work? When am I going to be able to do this? When am I going to be able to do that? It was just so difficult. But thankfully, I had such a lovely support system. I had my best friend Sagal. I had my sister Ayan. They were always telling me, don't worry, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. There was a lot of family conflict as well. There was a lot of stuff that was going on. It's just, it was so hard. And I was alone. And I just remember now that I look back to my 24-year-old self, my 23-year-old self, and I would be pushing the buggy and I would be struggling and I would get those judgments, those looks, those comments. When I went to the housing, I remember there was this lady that said to me, I know you Somali, saying that I'm lying so I could get a place like a house, you know, fraudulently or something. But I was like, hold me back, like I wanted to fight this girl, like I wanted to fight this lady. My kids were in school, I wanted to fight her, and she was like, security. She was calling the security. It's like, you know, people will make comments at you, people will judge you, because if you think about how society functions, yeah, if you're not doing something for people and you're going through your lowest, everyone shows their true colors. Everyone shows their true colors. People treat you based on how well they think that you are doing. This is how society is today. I can't sit, it's either I sit here and I feel sorry for myself and I cry about it, or it's either I wipe my tears and I find out how society functions and I work my way up slowly. Because how society functions and how they see you as, oh, she's single mom, she's worthless, she's this, she's that. That doesn't mean you need to see yourself that way. And that's why it's good to heal. You have value, baby. If anything, your values increased. Now, not only have you been through hardship, you got yourself out of it, yeah, and you're getting yourself out of it. You're an amazing mom. You're beautiful. You're smart. You have strength in you and you have courage in you that no other man can ever have. Wallahi, to be real. Kartiya leedahay, naag adagata, caloosha xirate. Caloosha xirate. All right? Yeah? I share this story because I can't lie to you, especially the times now when I was speaking about the charity and all of this, I felt so ashamed. But you know what? I had to do what I had to do to feed my kids. I had to do what I had to do to feed my kids because their father wasn't willing to help. And he was saying, I'm not going to help you. Like, you help yourself. You help yourself. You put yourself in this position. And it's so interesting to me how women get punished for everything. But keep your head up. Know that this is how society functions. If you are in a difficult position right now, or you're lost, or you're homeless, or expect that people will treat you like crap. Expect that people will treat you like shit. But that doesn't mean you're shit. That means you are the shit, babes. That means you are the shit. Yeah? I'll tell you something, yeah? With every hardship comes ease. That quote that comes from the Quran. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Wallahi, it's hard. And I can't lie to you, I still have my depressed days. I've been through so much that there's a lot to unpack. Don't expect everything to change in one day. You can come out of anything. Do you understand? You can come out of anything. Yeah? Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So I'll make another video next time. Anyways, guys, if you really like this content, please click like, comment, and subscribe. I would love sisters to follow me on TikTok And if you have any stories, I would, of course, make it anonymous. If you have any stories that you'd like me to share on here, like any dilemmas or anything like that, then please feel free, inshallah, to share your stories, or and just send me a message on TikTok. But yeah, guys, this is the story. This is the life. Anyways, you guys, if you like this type of content, please click like, comment, and subscribe. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Bye.